Hello, everybody, and welcome to another 10 questions with a pro. Today we have Camille Janae. Am I saying that correctly, Camille? Camille Janae here from Sacramento, California. She's a curl specialist and she also is a lock expert as well. So we invited her here just because we see a lot of people saying that they're going to go to locks, and we want to kind of like unpack that conversation before you make that decision to go into locks. But in the meantime, I'll have Camille introduce herself.
Yes, thank you so much, Aishia, for having me. My name is Camille Janae. I am a curly hair and lock educator, owner of Mahogany and Rose Hair Studio in Sacramento, California, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So we're just gonna get right into it. No fluff, just right down to the business. So this question: what makes someone a good candidate for locks?
Is this question based on candidacy with their hair or the?
Could you, because I think it could be either with
Yeah.
their hair, and are they really a lock candidate in general?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, technically anyone can get locks. In my experience, the tighter your curls and coils are, the quicker the hair is gonna lock though. But in terms of actual lifestyle, locks are not lesser maintenance, it's just different maintenance. And when it comes to salon appointments, it's actually more maintenance. So typically when I start locks, within the first year, someone needs to stick to maintenance every 4 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
In
didn't
order,
know that.
yeah, in order to properly kind of cultivate the locks along the way to make sure they're not bumpy, lumpy, that they're just kind of locking consistently. So yeah, most people don't know that. So you would be a good candidate if you are ready to commit to that kind of lifestyle and those kind of salon appointments. Um, and also being able to embrace frizz. Locks look neat on Instagram, but that's right after the salon appointment. They don't look like that 90% of the time. So being ready to embrace that part of the look too.
Awesome. I did not know that, so I definitely learned something new today, because I never even considered. I didn't know what the appointment situation was in that. So I'm glad you unpacked that, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, what options do I have when it comes to choosing a lock technique? Because there's several lock techniques, right?
Yeah.
What are those techniques, and yeah, what do they involve?
Yeah, so there's a couple different techniques, even in terms of how you start the locks. So you can start them using comb coils, two-strand twists, braids even. You can also start them with crochet method or interlocking method. So within those options, sometimes it's a preference based on how they look and your preference with the appearance. It could also be based on your curl pattern and how the locks are going to form easiest within what curl pattern you have.
Mhm.
Um, so someone who has tighter curls has a little bit more options because it's going to lock easier no matter what, versus someone with really loose curls. They might want to go for a more permanent technique such as interlocking or crocheting, where it's kind of forming the locks more immediately. And then same thing goes for the maintenance. So there's a couple different ways you can maintenance the locks. The most popular is the palm rolling, which we mostly see online, where it's got that really smooth rolled finish at the roots. That one is the least permanent. So as soon as you wash it, it's going to unravel.
Mm.
You can also do interlocking, where you're basically looping the bottom end of the lock through the new growth at the root. So that's a lot more permanent. That's a great option, especially for those that are committed to cleansing regularly with their locks and they don't want it to unravel. And then similarly with that method is the crochet method for maintenance. So you're using a really, really tiny crochet hook to gather the loose hairs at the root, so that they're kind of permanently meshed together.
Okay, so any of those techniques can be used for now. Are there different lock styles, or how do you categorize like freeform, sister locks? How is that? I don't know the language, so
Yeah.
what's that language?
Yeah, so freeform, the idea, like pure freeform, is you are just allowing the hair to lock as a result of you not doing anything to it. So every time you wash it, you're just allowing the hair to mat however it wants to. An example is how the weekend wore
And
his.
Jay-Z.
Yes, Jay-Z, even J. Cole, that's are examples of freeform locks. So if you're wanting a more manicured look, then you would be using those other techniques. What did you say? Sister
Sister
locks?
locks.
That's a form of interlocking. I'm not trained in that technique. It's like a copyrighted technique, but it is a form of interlocking, and they are micro locks.
Got it.
Traditional micro locks, but sister locks are even smaller than that.
Oh, really?
To give a reference point, I have a client with micro locks that I started, and she has about 200 locks. Someone with sister locks could have as many as 500 locks.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I wonder, Lupita, I just noticed like I don't know what she has. Are they micro or are they sister?
Right.
I just saw that like just this week. I was like, oh, okay. We didn't even know, sis.
Right, so, just popped up on us. They popped up on us. Micro locks, but it's hard to say.
It's hard to say. So it really the micro locks and sister locks comes down to if you have taken the training for the sister locks, also too as well the amount of small locks you have.
Yes, and I would say the biggest thing that sister locks, I guess, promotes, or their foundation, is like a really intricate grid pattern. So if you've seen locticians that start sister locks, it's very methodical with how they plan out the grid.
And it's quite a process. I have a client who has them, and it took, she said, 2 visits to do them. So I just, again, so 2 visits to start them, and then she had to go back. I'm not sure how often, again, like Camille said earlier, the frequency in terms of the maintenance, because there's maintenance that goes along with starting something, anything that you do. And the biggest takeaway I want people to get from this is there's maintenance involved in anything you decide to commit to.
Yes.
Okay, next question. What are the main differences between locks and loose natural hair?
One of the biggest differences is that it's a lot easier for locks to have buildup, just because it is the hairs meshing together, so it can be really hard to remove that buildup. It's also really, really easy for lint to get trapped in locks, and that's probably the hardest to remove. It's also you have to be really intentional with coloring locks, because if you're not fully rinsing out the lightener, lightener still keeps working, so it can be eating away at the locks from the inside. And then going back to the maintenance, if you want them to be maintained in a really manicured way, there are going to be more salon visits required. If you do the interlocking or the crocheting, it might not be every 4 weeks, it might be every 6 to 8, but that's still more frequent than like every few months for a curly cut.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, the curly cut can range in frequency of visits depending on length, desired look, and the actual size of your strand, with finer people coming in a little more frequently sooner than someone who has hair like mine. Well, I can't even use me, because color also impacts. So you have color also impacting the frequency at which you visit, because again, color kind of, it changes the hair structure a bit. And because the ends are already old, like at this point, whatever is on this end, it's at least 2 years old. It's old. And so it's more than likely to get raggedy sooner than you think. So just wanted to share what does it look like for a curly versus a lock individual.
Yes. Hey, I'll say the one other difference, the locking journey, when someone starts locks, especially the traditional way, it can take sometimes up to 1 to 2 years for the hair to fully lock and be mature.
Okay. And I feel like there is a similarity in the amount of time that it takes, because, especially the newer natural who's coming to the salon, who's been doing, bless your heart, y'all, doing all the things to y'all's hair, and we have to basically rehab y'all into a place, also growing out holes, because nobody wants to get the haircut they really should get. We're doing our best.
Yes.
We're doing our best. But if y'all got the haircuts, y'all really, it wouldn't be as long. But whatever, however long you want your journey to be, it's up to you. But with the condition, short crowns, poles, mullets, the breakage, and then the hair care routines, it can take about the same amount of time as a
Yeah.
lot.
That's
So I just wanted to point that out. Again, it doesn't sound like locks are like more. There's ease in like. It doesn't sound like it at all.
No,
right?
it's just different.
It's like, choose which journey do you want to go on. I think that's what it really comes down to.
It's just a trade-off. So maybe you're not spending an hour doing a wash and go, but you are spending more time in the salon and then trying to prevent lint buildup and things like that. So
yeah, there's that, right? So what steps should someone take to go from loose natural to locks?
I would say the first step is partnering with a professional, so seeking out a lock specialist. If they offer consultations, sitting down with them to discuss what that process would look like for your hair specifically, and what options there are. Because even though I went over all these different methods of locking, not every lock specialist does all of those methods. So talking through what options they perform, what they specialize in, and if that's going to be a good fit for you.
Awesome. Okay. What routine maintenance is involved with locks, and how often does it require a client to visit a salon? I think we kind of went over this, but we'll just, for the sake of.
Yeah. So if you're doing traditional palm rolling, I usually say about every 4 weeks. Once your locks are fully mature, depending on your preference for how they look, you can stretch it a little bit longer, but you actually don't really want to go too long in between maintenance appointments, because what happens is if you're doing palm rolling, our loose hair, as the new growth comes in, typically it naturally grows away from the lock. So that's where you kind of get like the frizz and the puffy roots. So the salon appointments, it's to give it the neat look, but it's also to help encourage those loose hairs to lock into their individual locks and kind of reestablishing the parting. So that maintenance is involved, I would say every 4 to 6 weeks. If you're doing more so like interlocking or crocheting, that can be every 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. I just hear a lot of visits. I still hear a lot of maintenance. I still hear maintenance. That's all I hear is maintenance.
Yes, and some folks will say like, oh, well, I'll just maintain them at home. But I've had clients who tried to do that in between appointments, and they're twisting their hair in different directions. That's the other thing. That's not a good idea, because it can thin out the roots. They can't see their parting, so then their parting is becoming more uneven. So yeah, it does require a lot of salon visits.
So, okay, this is kind of off the cuff.
Yeah.
So would you say that those who experience thinning at the root due to locks has more to do with the maintenance than the actual locks themselves?
Absolutely, because it's a misconception that having thin locks causes thinning. It's more so if someone is retwisting too often, because that's the other thing. People think they should retwist every time they wash their hair because they don't want the frizzy look, but you got to wait at least 4 weeks because your hair isn't growing that fast. So yeah, it's more about the maintenance. If they're doing it too tight typically and too often, or if they're flipping between directions, or flipping sometimes between methods, like palm rolling to interlocking, things like that.
That again, mind blown about that, because I thought, and I'm wrong, I'm grossly wrong. I thought that because the hair was getting so heavy, that it was causing so much tension at the roots, that it would cause the thinning.
Well, that is valid as well, especially when it starts to reach extreme lengths, because the thing with locks is the shed hair isn't going anywhere. So locks can become heavier, but they also can become heavy as a result of product buildup. So a lot of my clients that stick with my regimen, they're always surprised that their locks can like move and blow in the wind, because it isn't like weighed down by product buildup. But yes, when they reach the extreme lengths or have buildup, they definitely can cause tension from that weight.
Girl, you blowing my mind for real. Because I just, again, we haven't sat down and had these conversations about these techniques, and not with people who are actually behind a chair working with multiple heads of hair, and have that experience. Like, you've worked with hundreds of people at this point. And I'm sure you've done hundreds and hundreds of heads of locks. And again, my mind is blown, because I'm wrong. I was wrong. It's part right, but not like I didn't have all the supporting facts
Yeah.
to back up what I was saying. But now, girl, now I know some things. Okay, what are some things I should avoid doing with my lock hair?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say the biggest thing is having your locks uncovered, especially like when you're laying down or sleeping, because that's the main time that lint gets built up, especially in the nape area. So lock clients kind of have to have their locks covered. So yeah, avoiding that. I would say avoid using heavier products in general. So the heaviest product would be conditioner, and even with that, I dilute it with like 90% water in an applicator bottle, just so that it doesn't build up in the locks and can be easily rinsed out. So yeah, you don't want to be using like leave-in creams and things like that. You want it to all be mostly liquid water based. And then avoiding high tension, again, in terms of too frequent maintenance, or even with styling, you don't want to be styling it too tight, and even sometimes too often. So you really want to just let the hair kind of breathe.
Okay, no, that's great insight right there. So you think even like, say if you had a lock client who like worked outside gardening or in some like dust bowl of an environment, that they should be covering their hair when they're in those environments. So like if y'all decide to go ATV riding in the desert, put a covering over those locks.
Yes. And avoid the ACV rinse. That's not doing anything.
Sounds like some 30-day hair detox things for the locks. Can I apply some of the same 30-day hair detox principles to my lock hair? So we get a lot of people always asking like, how does this apply to locks? Now, locks are not our area of expertise, and we don't want to step in a lane that we are not even practicing in.
Yeah.
So can you share, because you do know some insight about the 30-day hair detox?
Yeah, absolutely. At the foundation of the 30 hair detox principles, you want to avoid raw oils and butters. You want to avoid typically products that are heavily formulated with those ingredients. And you also want to get into a routine of cleansing your locks at least every 7 days.
Wait, every 7 days?
Every 7 days.
So are they like the roots and the actual lock?
Buildup happens in the same way on locks as it does our loose natural hair.
Mind blown again. Even after a salon visit?
Yeah.
What?
And that's my hardest hurdle with lock clients, is that they want that retwist to last up until their next salon appointment. But then when they come in, there's so much buildup in their scalp. So yeah, I try to ease them into it and say every 2 weeks, but really it should be every week.
So, okay, so 7 to 14 is like, with 14 being the absolute max.
Right.
Because life happens. I mean, right. I give my clients a little girl, okay, my brain hurts a little bit. Just a little. Because I'm like, they think, you know.
I know, and that's why realistically, even though I love the look and feel of palm rolling, it's probably not best for most people's lifestyle if they want it to stay like a manicured look. They probably want to.
So what's the best thing for manicured look again?
Well, all of them will be manicured, but in terms of it staying manicured after you wash it, I would say crocheting or interlocking.
Taking the crochet tool into I've seen it. Okay. Yes. I'm gonna have to look this up a little bit more in terms of, like, I looked up all the different kinds, but I didn't look up like anybody performing each technique.
Yes. I
didn't see that.
Pages. Yeah.
Okay, send me that. Okay, so what are things I can do to maintain healthy locks? I think Camille touched on all of these, but I think just, again, affirmation.
Yes. So cleansing at least every 7 to 14 days, avoiding raw oils and butters, keeping your locks covered to avoid lint buildup, keeping your products really light and water-based, and then sticking with your salon visits as prescribed by your stylist, and not coming in too frequent or too infrequent.
And don't take on that responsibility of trying to hold down your lock maintenance on your own.
Right.
Healthy ones. The healthy people go in to see the people, not on YouTube trying to find videos on how to do it yourself. you're gonna mess up some stuff, and then you're gonna be upset. Sorry, I just went on a little.
No, period.
It's the stylist in us. We can't help it because we've seen it too many times, and what we want to do is to try to avoid getting to that point. Like we want to do the things that don't have to send you into extreme rehab.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to avoid extreme rehab because that process, we've seen it too many times. It's long. It's annoying. It's hard. It's challenging in so many ways. So we want to do anything to not have to like repair. We don't want to repair.
Yes, yeah. I will say, like, for instance, I've seen people try to interlock on their own. And if you don't know how to do the interlocking method, a lot of folks create holes, literal holes in their locks from doing that incorrectly. So yeah.
Then they have a lock that is like kind of like ends that need to be cut off, thin and see through. And then but it's in a weird area because it's like up here, and then the lock is fuller down here, and now you have a wimpy, skinny, poor looking lock.
Yeah,
we have to figure out like what are we going to do with it, and you don't want to cut it.
Yes, and that's why then people have to specialize in lock repair, and now they're adding human hair and crocheting that into your lock because you don't want to cut it. Yeah,
girl, this is probably, I learn a lot from each and every one of these conversations that I'm having with stylists. But this one is, ain't nobody talking. They're not talking enough because I don't know. What?
Yeah, that's a thing. Absolutely.
Y'all are jacking up your locks too? Okay, so you're double mad. You're like double fisted mad over there. You got curly hair and you got locks. That's like some double. She's really a nice person though. She's really sweet. Camille is so sweet. You wouldn't even know she was, but I know as a stylist, inside her body, it's a double fisted mad.
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you say that locks are easier to care for than loose natural?
Absolutely not. Not even close. Nope.
I mean, if you sat in on the last 8 questions, I could have answered that too. No, friend,
No.
Okay, this question here. What would you say to someone who's considering combing out their locks to become a loose natural? I want to hear what your opinion is. I have a strong opinion as of recent about this. Go ahead.
Yes. I've had locks twice personally, in addition to being a lock specialist. Just cut it off.
Thank you. Please. I wanted somebody to say this out loud. I have worked with 2 clients in my career. I've been behind the chair. What's this? 5 years this year? I think it's 5 years. I've been behind the chair 5 years this August. And I 2 that I can recall. I might have missed some people. I think there's a couple others, but 2 that stick out in my head. And the reason why is I have one client who has a silky surface texture who did it. It wasn't that bad, but it also her hair wasn't great until 2 years later. I had another client recently come into the salon who had hair very similar to mine that she combed out. It's about down here. And when I finished, as a stylist, like when you finish and it's not like, okay, at least okay, minimum. Because I never like my hair the first day. So I'm gonna be honest, I never like my hair the first day. It takes me like a couple days to like get used to seeing myself in a new way.
Yes.
And it's not that I don't like it. I'm just having adjusted.
Yes.
But it's that. And I was like, is there something that we can change or make different? She's like, I just was expecting something that was more like of a dramatic change. And I'm like, I don't really know what dramatic change you were expecting. You combed out your locks. So let us kind of unpack this a little bit. So for those who are considering to go loose natural and thinking about combing out their locks, when you comb out your locks, and Camille can back me up and you can add in too. When you comb out your locks, the hair that you're combing out it's so compromised to be in its loose state that it's gonna be whatever it looks like. Right. It just is. It's in such a state no amount of, and I know y'all know all the stuff, no amount of Olaplex, Alpha G two-step treatment, K18, deep conditioning every morning is going to change the fact that the hair is compromised.
Right. I mean, even the process of combing it out, we would never do to our loose natural hair, of ripping through it with a fine tooth comb. Like, why would you? And the process of it, when someone's like, yeah, it takes me like a couple hours per lock, why would you want to spend that kind of time? Just start. It's different care and maintenance. So why not learn that on shorter hair, so you're not overwhelmed by all this hair coming out the gate?
Hair coming out the gate, hair that is not in good, it's not gonna look cute. I don't care if we pressed it, if we slathered it up with Eco Styler and put it in a French roll. It's just not. It's not. So if you are considering being a loose natural, you're gonna be signing up for a big chop. You should. Well, let me say that you should sign up for the big chop, and don't take your. I think it's more stressful.
Yes.
To go through that process. The combing out alone, like people are like, oh, I spent like 14 days. 14 days? How were you looking the other days? Like, what was that? What was no.
And why?
You don't. Why? It's why. That's all. We're trying to choose our words really carefully, because we do understand that it is a very personal choice to do such a thing. And my client the other day, I told her, I was like, girl, you just need, the lock folks just need to big chop. She's like, but I already big chop before. I said, I understand. I mean, we made it through your process, but I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to see another, I comb my locks out. No, you comb your locks out, and you should be going to somewhere to get a big chop.
Yes.
And save them. Why don't you chop them off and save them if you decide like this loose hair journey ain't for me, and you can reattach them?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yep.
Okay, so we're on the same page with this. I was hoping we was on the same page with this. I really was, because I was like, I really want to get this one out.
Clearly, I'm all for the big chop, so I'm like, just chop it off.
And like we said, it's not a personal thing. It's really more for you while we're suggesting this, because you will get to where you want to be at with your hair much faster. Like if you saw your big chop in 12 months from now,
yes,
completely different head of hair.
Yeah.
And depending on the rate of growth, like I'm telling you, much better, smoother journey. Get you some cute earrings, put on some eyebrows if you don't have them like me. Buy some lipsticks and some blushes, and just go on while you go through this part of your journey. Learn some makeup tricks. I'll tell you, because I big chopped before, and I was like, I don't know about this. Eyeshadow, lipstick, earrings. But no, do whatever you need to do to get through that process. Well, I'd like to thank Camille so much for this very insightful conversation about locks. Like I said, I literally learned a whole bunch of information that I had no clue about when it comes to locks. So now I feel a little more educated. If somebody asks me some questions, like these base level questions here, I feel more insightful about giving some people some direction on where to go and who to see. Also, y'all can follow Camille Janae Hair on Instagram. She also does offer sessions for those, she does some course work for those who are loose natural, and she has some one-on-one, right, for lock folks.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, thank you. This was awesome. I'm glad it was enlightening for you as well.
My brain, I feel like I just did a Cut It Kinky level 1 class. And it's not even, we didn't even touch nobody. I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
And we don't, just so you guys know, the way cosmetology is set up in terms of like the programs we go through, this is not even something like a topic that is touched on even from this base layer. So I'm sure that those who also are hairstylists out there can also gain some insight from understanding how locks work. And no, don't tell people to slather oils and butters on their locks. Retwist with oils and butters to set them up for failure, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, I want to thank Camille Janae Hair for joining us today. And please ask all the questions in the comment section. We'll come back and we'll have a look and see what y'all talking about down there here over at YouTube. And we'll see you around at the next 10Q.
Yes, thank you so much.